The pen is heavy. It feels like a lead pipe in your hand, cold and unforgiving. You are sitting in a conference room that smells like cheap laminate, industrial-grade floor wax, and the stale, recycled air of 100 failed dreams. Across from you, the bank representative waits, a man in a charcoal suit whose face has been scrubbed of all empathy. He looks at his watch. He has somewhere else to be. You, however, are trapped in the center of the aperture. In front of you sits the folder. It is a thin, manila-colored file, but it contains the weight of your entire existence. Inside is the signed purchase agreement for a 20-unit complex in the most depressed zip code in the city. It's derelict. It's infested with roaches, black mold, and the lingering scent of desperation. It's leaking capital, literally through a roof that's seen better decades, and figuratively, through a vacancy rate that would make a sane investor run for the hills. If you sign, your bank account hits zero. Actually, it dips into the negative, buffered only by a predatory credit line you pray doesn't get pulled by the very bank sitting across from you. You aren't just buying property, you are signing a suicide pact. You are personally liable for the $2.5 million loan. If the boiler explodes, you are responsible. If the roof caves in during a storm, you are responsible. If the neighborhood crumbles further, you are responsible. You look at the ink, you look at the numbers, you realize in this single, quiet, pressurized moment that you have officially ceased being a human being. You have become a risk management vehicle for the bank. You are a biological entity meant to absorb the shock of market volatility. You sign. The click of the ballpoint pen sounds like a gunshot echoing through the sterile room. There is no going back. You have jumped off the cliff, and you have to build the plane on the way down. Welcome to the bottom. Level 1. The Scout. The adrenaline wears off within 48 hours, replaced by the gnawing, hollow panic of absolute, bone-deep poverty. You are now the Scout. You aren't a visionary yet. You are a scavenger. You spend 12 hours a day driving for dollars. You scour the city grid, block by block, looking for the tired owners, the ones who inherited a property 3 decades ago, let the paint peel, and stopped answering maintenance calls in 2012. You are looking for the rot. You see a broken window, others see a crime scene, you see a discount. You are the hunter. You knock on doors with peeling paint that flakes off like dead skin under your fingertips. You deal with the suspicion in the eyes of old men who don't want to sell to a kid with a clipboard and a desperate glint in his eye. You are rejected 9 times out of 10. You are told to get lost. You are threatened with trespassing. You are laughed at. But you keep going because the alternative is the crushing silence of your empty bank account and the landlord knocking on your door for rent. You learn the most vital lesson of Level 1. Desperation is a currency. When you are broke, you are more persuasive. You don't have the luxury of being polite, and you don't have time for social niceties. You are building the raw database of your empire, one neglected address at a time. Every no is a data point. Every get off my property is just feedback. You spend your nights hunched over a laptop, cross-referencing tax records with property deeds, your eyes burning from the screen glare. You are mapping the decay of the city, and you are starting to see the patterns. You aren't just looking for houses, you are looking for weakness. The slippery slope. You finally land your first deal. You catch a tired owner on a bad day, and you catch them with a check. The adrenaline returns. You realize that hunting is exhausting, but the thrill of the find is addictive. You cannot stop now, because if you stop hunting, you stop eating. The hunt is the only thing keeping the darkness at bay. Level 2. The Leverager. The deal is done. You've closed on that 20-unit complex. You are now the Leverager. This is the phase where you learn that debt is not a tool. It is a weight strapped to your back. You have walked into the bank's office and traded your sleep for their capital. Every month, the payment is due. It doesn't matter if the tenants paid rent. It doesn't matter if the sewer line backed up. The bank wants its cut. The bank doesn't care about your struggle. It cares about its yield. You walk through the hallways of your building for the first time as the owner. You smell the mildew, you see the graffiti in the stairwell, a crude territorial mark. You see the flickering fluorescent light that buzzes like a dying insect. You start to understand that you are not in the business of housing people, you are in the business of debt service. Your job is to extract enough value from the residents to keep the bank satisfied, so they don't foreclose and take your dignity along with the bricks and mortar. You are terrified. Every time the phone rings, you jump. It's always a problem. It's always a request for money. You are the one who signs the personal guarantee. You are the one who goes down with the ship when the water starts rising. You spend your weekends painting walls yourself because you can't afford a contractor. You are sweating through your shirt, scrubbing floors, and realizing that the dream of real estate is mostly just manual labor and administrative torture. You are the superintendent, the janitor, the accountant, and the debt slave. The slippery slope. You stabilize the property, the check clears, the bank sends you a letter congratulating you on your performance. You realize that debt, while terrifying, is the only way to scale. You realize that if you can leverage one building, you can leverage 10. You cannot stop now because you have learned that the bank is willing to give you more rope if you show them you can hold the weight. You are hooked on the leverage. Level 3. The operator. You are no longer a hunter. You are the operator. Your life has become a series of tactical firefights. You are the guy who shows up at 2 a.m. with a shop vac because a pipe burst in Unit 4B. You know the name of every tenant. You know their excuses. You know which ones pay on the first and which ones play games with your eviction notices. You are knee-deep in the toilets and tenants grind. This is the crucible. Most people quit here. The sheer volume of human misery you have to navigate, the domestic disputes, the evictions, the code violations, the noise complaints, it's enough to break a normal person. You start to develop a shell. You stop listening to the stories of why they can't pay rent. You stop being the good guy who wants to help people. You become the machine. You realize that your empathy is a liability. Every time you cut a tenant a break, you are actively eroding your ability to service the debt. You start to look at the building not as a place where people live, but as a machine that generates a gross rent multiplier. You start calculating how much it costs to replace a door versus how much rent you lose if you don't. You are tired. You are cynical. You are effective. The slippery slope. You finally have a month where the operations run smoothly. You have a system. You have a ledger. You realize you can't scale to $600 million if you're still unclogging drains. You cannot stop now because you are too close to the breaking point of management, and the only way out is to build a system that replaces you. You are building a cage, and you are the one holding the keys. Level 4, the Syndicator. You've hired a property manager, you've fired the manager, you've hired a better one. You are now the Syndicator. You have graduated from using your own money, or what little of it you had, to using other people's money, OPM. You put on a suit. It feels like a costume, but it fits better than the work boots did. You walk into rooms filled with high net worth individuals, doctors, and lawyers who are terrified of inflation and bored with the volatility of the stock market. You sell them the dream. You sell them the spreadsheets. You sell them the internal rate of return, IRR. You are no longer dealing with tenants. You are dealing with investors. The stakes have shifted. If a tenant is unhappy, they leave. If an investor is unhappy, they sue. You have moved from managing property to managing expectations. You realize that the real estate is just the backdrop. The real product is the financial structure. You are engineering returns. You are crafting a narrative of growth to justify the acquisition of the next 50 units, then the next 100. You are addicted to the capital raise. The sound of a wire transfer hitting your escrow account is more satisfying than the sound of a tenant's gratitude ever was. You are playing a game of chess where the pieces are millions of dollars, and the board is the city skyline. The slippery slope, the capital is pouring in. You have reached the point where the deal flow is constant. You cannot stop now because your investors are counting on you to put their capital to work. You are no longer the captain of your own ship. You are a captive of your own growth. If you slow down, the machine stops. And if the machine stops, the questions begin. You are running as fast as you can to stay in the same place. Level 5, the accumulator. You are the accumulator. You don't look at windows or roofs anymore. You look at data points on a screen. You sit in a high-rise office with floor-to-ceiling windows. You have a wall of monitors. Your portfolio is a sea of green and red cells in a master spreadsheet. You manage thousands of units across multiple states. You have layers of management beneath you, regional directors, district supervisors, maintenance leads. You don't know the names of the tenants. You don't even know the addresses of some of your properties. This is where the commodification of shelter is complete. You walk through a neighborhood and you don't see homes, you don't see families, you see yield, you see cap rate compression, you see tax advantages. You have reached the ultimate form of detachment. The irony is that you are finally successful by every metric, yet you have never felt more disconnected from reality. You are a ghost in the machine you built. The $600 million is just a number on a screen. When the market dips, you don't feel the fear of the tenant, you feel the anxiety of the margin call. You are no longer a property owner, you are a portfolio manager. The slippery slope. You have hit the top of the local market. There is nowhere left to grow unless you change your structure. You cannot stop now, because if you stop accumulating, the portfolio stagnates. And if it stagnates, the overhead eats you alive. You are trapped by the scale you created. You are a prisoner of your own success, endlessly hunting for the next acquisition just to justify the existence of the last one. Level 6, the sovereign. You have reached the end. You are the sovereign. You control the debt. You have established relationships with institutional lenders, hedge funds, and private equity firms. You don't ask for loans. You negotiate the terms of the capital. You have learned the deepest, coldest truth of this industry. You aren't an asset owner. You are a risk manager for the bank. You realize that the bank is not your enemy. The bank is your partner. They provide the leverage that allows you to control the $600 million of real estate. They take the interest, you take the control. You have mastered the cycle of debt, the cycle of acquisition, and the cycle of extraction. You are the one who dictates the terms of the game. You look at the skyline, and you know that you are effectively a steward of the city's housing stock. You know that you are protected by layers of entities, insurance, and legal structures. You are the untouchable entity. But as you look at the signed agreements for your latest $50 million acquisition, you feel the ghost of the man who signed that first folder. You remember the fear. You remember the smell of the mildew in that first unit. You remember the way your hands shook. You realize that you have traded your soul for a spreadsheet. You are a king, but you are a king of a kingdom made of debt and paper. You check the interest rates. You check the market. You are already looking for the next portfolio to acquire. The hunger is still there, but it's different now. It's not the hunger of survival, it's the hunger of dominion. You cannot stop. You will never stop. Because once you understand the nature of the game, the only thing worse than playing it is being the one who gets played. You pick up the pen, the weight is still there, you sign. You came here looking for the secret to $600 million. Here it is. It isn't about real estate. It isn't about being a landlord. It is about the appetite for risk. You start by risking your own capital. You end by risking the bank's capital. The progression from scout to sovereign is simply the process of offloading your personal risk onto larger and larger entities until you are the one holding the cards. But never ever forgetting that if the cards stop moving, the house falls. You want the empire, you have to be willing to be the person who commodifies the most basic human need, shelter, and treats it with the cold, calculated precision of an accountant. If you can't stomach the spreadsheet, stay home. If you can, the folder is waiting. The final question you have to ask yourself is, once you get to the top, do you actually own the buildings, or has the debt finally finished owning you? The answer is buried in the fine print, and you've already signed it.